Food and Wine Insider is a weekly look at a $1.5 trillion industry touching every American. Devoted to the business of purveying food and decanting wines, Food and Wine Radio is a unique program highlighting not food recipes or wine vintages, but how to make a profit while satisfying America's palates. In this competitive but highly rewarding sector, many men and women have made profits while fulfilling a dream. Food and Wine Insider is all about better managing any business involving food and wine. Each week, your co-hosts sit down with successful restaurateurs, food mavens, winery vintners, store owners, food suppliers, and other leaders in the worldwide industry that centers on foodstuff and wine. In frank give-and-take sessions, guests and panelists talk about the business of bringing healthy and pleasurable foods and wines to others. Your Food and Wine Radio host are Ann Daw, former president of the Specialty Food Association and a longtime food executive who has held senior positions both here and abroad with Kraft Foods and Philip Morris. Don Mazzella, a nationally known business commentator. On each show, they invite leaders of the world's culinary and wine industries to share the secrets of their success. Visit us at foodandwineinsider.com.
Ann Dow's first guest today is Bettina Stern, co-proprietress of Chaia, a Washington, D.C. farm-to-taco restaurant focused on slow cooking, fast casual food that is entirely plant-based. Here's your host, Ann Dow.
Hi. Well, welcome, Bettina. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. A little bit about your business I wanted to let our listeners hear about. The co-owners, Bettina Stern and Suzanne Simon, have been cooking together for many years when they decided to bring their seasonal vegetable-based cuisine to D.C. The pair started by testing the concept at district farmers markets, and within a few weeks have been named one of D.C.'s top 9 tastemakers. The company believes eating whole plant-based foods is healthiest for people and the planet, and that produce eaten in season is simply tastier. Chaia also opened a brick-and-mortar location in 2015 and partnered with Bento Box, a web platform which provides a digital home for food service businesses to help further the company's growth. The Chaia team actively uses technology that is disrupting the restaurant and food business, such as mobile apps, software tools, and social platforms to help small businesses and brands amplify their voices and find customers. Since partnering with Bento Box, the team is able to watch weekly sales grow, and they've seen a large increase in year-over-year customer numbers. In addition, there's also been a 15% increase in gift card sales and 60% increase in catering. Anyway, Bettina, thanks so much for being on the show. It's great to have you here. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about your story and Suzanne's story, because I understand you came out of editorial publishing and Suzanne out of environmental sciences. I really wanted to hear, and I'm sure our listeners want to hear, what inspired you to get into the food business?
Well, good morning, Anne. This is Bettina, and I'm really happy to talk about Chaia here with you and a little bit about our story. Suzanne and I actually have been cooking together for many years before we started our brick and mortar, before we even came up with this idea for seasonal vegetable tacos here in DC. We became friends over food and began cooking together in a cookbook club that we formed, and from that had a journey through a number of kind of exciting, ahead of their time ideas, and started creating partnerships here in the DC area with the Fresh Farm Market, which is the sort of largest farm market organization in the district, Maryland, Virginia area, otherwise known as the DMV. And after a few years of teaching cooking classes and partnering with chef demos and meeting a lot of folks in town, we were asked to submit an idea for a restaurant concept in a startup kitchen competition. So based off a cooking class we had taught about cooking with farm fresh eggs, we decided to show our our students how easy it is to make delicious homemade corn tortillas. And we filled them with different seasonal local vegetables cooked sort of to their best and yummiest flavors. And the class was a hit. So when we were asked to put this proposal in for the business idea, for the restaurant idea, we thought, well, let's do that. And fast forward to the fact that we made it into the finals and presented our idea in front of a group of 8 judges. And the Fresh Farm Market organizers came to us and said, this is perfect. You are sourcing from our farmers. You are living to our mission of feeding people from their own community, supporting your own community, eating foods with their best flavor possible. And why don't you come test that at one of our farm markets? So we did. We chose a farm market that was not your typical farmer's market scene. Chose a lunchtime market downtown near the White House. And we popped up a few months later with our little 10 by 10 foot tent and our tables and our cooking pans, and we brought enough food for 50 people, and we sold out in about an hour and a half. So the next week we came back with twice as much, and again sold out in about an hour and a half. And within 6 weeks of sort of adding some staff to the tent, we were being written up about, and by the end of that farm market season, that's when the Washington Post named us one of the top 9 tastemakers in the city. So we realized this kind of crazy esoteric idea was ripe for maybe a bigger market. So that's sort of the beginning of the story that led us to finding investors and creating a brand around Chaia that could support a brick and mortar store with the idea of taking this, nationally, if not further than that eventually. So that's where we are with store 1, and store 2 and 3 already in the works, not even 2 years after opening the doors to store 1.
It's a pretty amazing story to go from, I think you were in the farmer's market in 2009, and you were in a brick and mortar shop by 2015, which is super amazing. I'm so curious.
I'll correct you. We actually didn't pop into the farmer's market until 2013, until May of 2013. And in November of 2015, we did open the doors to Chaia in Georgetown.
So that's even more astronomical, which is seriously amazing. So, I mean, it's an extraordinary transformation. I'm just curious. I know the DC market is phenomenal for food trucks. I was just curious. You almost sort of skipped over even thinking about doing a food truck. I don't want to make any presumptions here. I'm just curious if you thought about maybe going from the farmer's market where you have a 10 by 10 and a tent and all that to a food truck kind of concept before venturing into bricks and mortar, which obviously is a huge investment. And just curious if you ever thought about that and why you might not have wanted to do it. I think the listeners would love to hear that.
Well, interesting you say, because I think I mentioned that Suzanne and I had met over food, and I invited her into a cookbook club that had just formed because of a book that I'd received as a Christmas present from a friend from college. And as I was forming this cookbook club, I thought, I've just met this wonderful woman, and she's a great cook, and I bet she'd be interested. So that cookbook club lasted a number of years, but Suzanne and I were thinking about business ideas. And the very first business idea that we had, we drafted up a business plan and took it to the DC government and proposed it. And it was it was a food truck. We called it mobile vending. And I had learned about the food truck scene in Portland, Oregon, and that had also migrated to Vancouver in British Columbia, but really was absolutely nowhere else. And I said to Suzanne, this is a really great idea, and this town is devoid of really good food, and there is nothing that's easy and quick to grab that's healthy and satisfies your palate and that is made with real food in a real kitchen. And let's take an idea to the DC government. So we did. And in 2005, we took an idea to the DC government, and they thought, this is fabulous, but there's a moratorium on food vending. And at that time, and it had existed for at least 20 years, I believe, there had been no reissuance of licenses that could just go anywhere. They had a ban on it. And if you were a vendor who sold fake FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation baseball caps, or you sold Blue Bunny or Good Humor ice cream cones, you had to literally go down to the soccer stadium, football stadium, and stand in line every day in a lottery to get your street corner. And every day you'd have to return, and they'd give you a different street corner. And the moratorium was on, and we said, well, our idea is we can't do our idea. We're not going to do that. We're not going to go down and stand on a corner every day. We'll never build momentum. We'll never build a clientele that's loyal. We'll never be able to, to do that. This is silly. And both Susanna and I each had 3 young children at the same time, so we weren't willing to sacrifice that. So then we gave up the idea of a food truck because the time wasn't right, and it wasn't for a couple of years that DC actually took the ban off and food trucks did start to appear. That said, we rejected that idea because it's not nearly as scalable. It's not as profitable. It is really hard work, and it didn't seem that the life-work balance was ever going to be correct. It was not going to be right for us. So another idea came after that.
So that's
another idea.
So that's great advice for anyone thinking about, well, the easy way to do this is, through a food truck. But you're right. I mean, licenses and location and all of that has to really be taken into consideration. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your products. You don't reference your products as vegetarian, but plant-based. And I really want people to know what that really means. And then if you could talk about the expectations of price when consumers aren't buying a product that is, has meat as the base. I think that would be really helpful for our listeners to hear about, because I think what you're doing from a plant-based aspect is really fantastic.
Well, we've sort of gone back and forth about how to label what we're doing. The mission behind the food that we're creating and what we're hoping to achieve out of Chaia is really, honestly, to get people to eat more vegetables. Mm-hmm. To eat more vegetables because they're delicious. If they're cooked right, they're delicious. If they're in season, there's a reason things, have a season, and a reason things should be eaten in season. The flavor profile of the food paired with other things that grow together, go together. So we try to, pair toppings with vegetables that, that's where we like a tomato with basil. They're growing together at the same time, let's say. But we're really trying to get people to eat more vegetables, because vegetables will save the planet by the far less intensive agriculturally, the far less, water usage. They support farmers in a far different way. They're not cruel to the environment. So there's that. They're good for the planet. They don't create methane gases. They regenerate as things compost and regenerate the soil. But also eating vegetables is good for us. So it's good for people. And so we're really trying to do it for not just the flavors and because we love vegetables, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right way to put to fill your plate. your plate should have a majority of vegetables on it to live a long and healthy life. But that said, we don't hammer in that we are a, almost fully organically sourced restaurant. We don't hammer in that we're vegetarian because we don't want to scare away people who may be scared of eating vegetables or who don't think they like vegetables so much and how can they imagine eating a meal without meat on it. We're not telling people not to eat meat. In fact, I want meat eaters to come and enjoy. So I don't want to call us a vegetarian restaurant. We are a vegetarian restaurant. We do serve plant-based foods. Probably use that buzzword more than vegetarian because it's timely and it's what people are talking about. But really, honestly, we're just doing something super clean and super healthy and something we really believe in, but that is also incredibly satisfying as a meal. So that would be my answer to the plant-based question. And the second part of that question, you'll have to refresh me what you said on your phone.
I think it's what have you the expectations of price by the consumer of something that is plant-based versus if there's meat present, and how have you either overcome or sort of addressed the price of your tacos in that realm, in the sense of things should be expensive and worth it, or things should be reasonably priced and people feel more than worth it. I'm just curious how you've addressed that.
So a taco trio at Chaia is $11. That is a meal. If someone comes in and is ready for lunch, a taco trio should be satisfying and enough calories and enough food to feed them. If they're hungrier, they may want to, add a side of, the most delicious black beans ever, honestly, to add some other proteins to their meal. That adds another $3 to the ticket. But if folks balk that a single taco is $3.75 rather than $2.75 at, Taco Bell, well, there's a lot of work that goes in to actually making one of our tacos. They're rather complex. There's nothing about the taco individually, the different layers of it that isn't simple enough to make in your home kitchen. But if you've got to make the masa, to create the hand griddled corn tortilla that will be pressed and put on our comal, which is a round cast iron griddle that's reminiscent of what they use in Mexico and other places in Central America. There's that layer. Then there's the eggplant that comes in from the farm that has to be destemmed and chopped and tossed in extra virgin olive oil and salt and red pepper flakes and roasted in the oven for 20 minutes. And so then you get that layer, and then you have to create a salsa that's unique that goes to that, and that has to be made from the fresh vegetables, which either have to be chopped or cooked or processed in some way, and the spices and additions that go to that. And then there's the garnish that goes on top of that needs to be washed and chopped and prepared for service. And then we top every single taco that we sell with hyper locally grown microgreens, grown in a farm right here in the District of Columbia under super, hygienic conditions. So it's a lot of layers that goes into making that one little eggplant taco, or whatever taco you've chosen. So we justify it that way because we pay our employees quite well, above average, and we want to do right by our employees as well. So some of that cost is going into our labor, which is traditionally for a restaurant the biggest cost you would have.
This is absolutely fascinating, but we have to stop a moment to hear from one of our sponsors.
Want to know more about health savings accounts for your company or yourself? Go to 2hsa.com and get a free employer's primer.
Health savings accounts are a cost-effective way of offering health care benefits to your employees and yourself. HSAs build retirement funds for your employees, improve morale, and reduce your health care benefit cost. For a free employer guide to HSAs, go to 2hsa.com. That's 2hsa.com.
You are listening to Ann Daw and Don Mazzella, and the program is Food and Wine Insider. If you have a question or know someone you think our listeners should hear, contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Remember, our programs are heard every Wednesday and Saturday on this station via amfm247.com or on iHeartRadio, as well as Roku Television. You can listen to past shows at foodandwineinsider.com.
We're back here talking with Bettina Stern about her Washington taco restaurant, and here's back to Ann Daw.
Great. Bettina, I want to talk a little bit about Chaia and your, the bricks and mortar, going from obviously the farmer's market to the bricks and mortar shop. Getting into retail business has certainly lots of challenges. If someone wanted to say, hey, I like what those gals have done, I want to repeat what they've done and take my concept to a shop, what advice would you give them? What were the kind of challenges and surprises for you making that transition from, the farmer's market now to bricks and mortar, obviously overhead, employees, etc. Just would love to hear your thoughts and your advice to anyone thinking about getting into the restaurant business.
I would say that the most important thing is to really do a lot of research ahead of time about what your concept is, what's out there, how do you stand out as a unicorn in your category. How can you do it better? I mean, there's always going to be taco shops coming along. Is there going to be another Chaia coming along that makes seasonal vegetable tacos? Well, sure, maybe there will be someday, but we'll just have to continue to iterate and be better and always strive to iterate and improve our operations, to best our in-house systems and reach our highest potential and satisfy our customers and continue attracting them and continue creating delicious products. I mean, our standards are very high, and I don't really think that somebody else can come along and do exactly what we've done, because we have our own unique vision, and I think we will best them as long as we stay on our game.
What just continuing on that thought, what are the key metrics that you look at every day to say, okay, I'm on track, maybe I'm not on track, how do I need to adjust, that kind of thing? I would love to hear that.
Well, business is really all about numbers, right? It's like, are you making your numbers? Are you falling within the healthy zones that you should be in? And it all, in the end, comes down to that, because you can have a great idea and fail if you're not hitting the marks there. So, following along with labor costs or inventory or pricing and sourcing, and making sure that we continue to negotiate within reason with our vendors and any of our partners, and we're able to stay within a line with that. But we're a pretty scrappy organization still, pretty bootstrappy, as we still in only our first brick and mortar. But we put a lot of things in place technologically to help us grow to the next level. And I follow very closely any social media feedback we have on negative, positive. Try to respond to any negativity that comes in on a Yelp review that someone has a complaint. So they're basically, keeping a daily finger on the pulse keeps us nimble and ready to jump into action if needed.
Could you talk a little bit about any of the things, and in starting your first restaurant, what are the things as you go to expand? What are the things that you would do differently as you expand? Because you mentioned earlier that you see yourself doing that versus what you did in establishing this first location.
Well, honestly, we've had a lot more successes, than failures, and almost from day one, we had winning fans, and so we continue to sort of lay out the road ahead, following the path we've already taken. But the obstacles to getting there was just our own nascency in starting a business that currently employs 25 people and has probably tripled in value since we first opened the store 2 years ago. We have so many smart, accomplished men and women willing to lend an ear and give us valuable advice and know-how to continuing to grow our business to the next level. So I would, always advise a young business owner, somebody at the early stages of any kind of a startup, to surround yourself with people smarter than you, to hire people that are smarter than you, to partner with people who are smarter than you, people that can really bring stuff to the table that you don't have, because we don't have it all. Hiring intelligently is, one of the most direct ways to build a company's success. So look for the most capable candidates, even in partners, people whose brilliance exceeds your own. Create a team of excellence.
Are there particular competencies that you went out there to try and hire to help you build the business?
More in the sense of getting advisors and mentors who've either done this before and been incredibly successful. So it's a marketing expert, somebody who's a retail analyst, somebody who's, got operations know-how. Yeah, we've surrounded ourselves with that. And, with age and maturation, and we are not, we are not millennials. We are not in our 20s or 30s. And, we've met a lot of people along the way. So we have been able to call on folks, friends of friends, and just build. It's a small town, and it's a very, very, I have to say it's a friendly community. It's a friendly sense of competition. So we are actually fairly good friends with all the people that are doing things that are similar to us. The founders of Sweetgreen, the founders of Chaia, the founders of other, fast casuals that are doing healthy, that are choosing to basically put a healthy product out there as well.
Because you've moved so quickly to be in bricks and mortar, and you mentioned earlier that you're already looking at store number 2 and 3. Where would you like to be 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I think we want to have done our saturation of this area, what we'll dub the DMV. We have a sort of goal of having probably 8 stores in 5 years, and then spreading outwards to other cities in other regions, and probably targeting one region to begin with, and then building onward from that.
Would you see that as a franchise model, or are you thinking that it would be you would own all of the stores? I'm just curious in terms of how people thinking about that.
We have thought about it a lot, and we have actually spoken with folks who are in the franchise business and the folks who stayed private. And my gut feeling in September of 2017 is I prefer the private growth model, where you bring in private equity money and you build it. You give up your own equity. My business partner Suzanne and I, probably start depleting our equity to bring in money that keeps it growing the way we want to grow it. You lose some control over in the franchise model because you've got operators who, it's a different model. I'm not discounting it. I'm just not certain it's the one that to me feels the most attractive at this stage in the game.
Bettina, tell us your restaurant and a website and all that information.
I shall. It's Chaia. Our website is www.chaiadc.com. And if you're ever in Washington, D.C., it's down in historic Georgetown. It's a beautiful little standalone building built in the 1940s, and we're the first tenants in there. It's a family-owned building, and we're renting from the grandson of the original builder.
Wonderful. Well, I'll be in DC soon, so I do plan to come and visit. So,
come
Bettina,
visit,
thank
Ann.
you so much. Absolutely. I really look forward to it, and I love the concept, and I wish you all the best. I think it's really fabulous.
Thank you so much, Ann. Take care. Have a wonderful day.
You too now.
Dan Perkins here from Recalculating.biz with your featured book. I want to tell you about a recent interview I had with Bob Bethel, a turnaround specialist with lots of success in small business. Bob's new book is Strengthen Your Business, Fail-Proof Strategies for Small Business. He tells us of his life successes and failures that have made him and his clients so successful. Over the years, Bob has brought 77 companies back from the brink and changed them into thriving, profitable businesses. His energy is amazing, and at 74, he proves that you can still have a great deal to give others if you just try. His suggestions are easy to understand and very helpful. One insight struck me was that most companies do not have a plan. The old Chinese proverb says, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there, is true today. Bob Bethel's book, Strengthen Your Business, can be found at Amazon.com or can be ordered at your local bookstore. This has been Dan Perkins with your Recalculating.biz featured book.
Want to know more about health savings accounts for your company or yourself? Go to 2hsa.com and get a free employer's primer. Health savings accounts are a cost-effective way of offering health care benefits to your employees and yourself. HSAs build retirement funds for your employees, improve morale, and reduce your health care benefit cost. For a free employer guide to HSAs, go to 2hsa.com. That's 2hsa.com.
And our next guest is someone I've been looking forward to. She's Alina Morse. She's 12 years old, and she's developed Zollipops, Zolli Drops, and Zaffy Taffy. Alina, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much.
Alina, you're just an amazing entrepreneur, and in my mind, having been in marketing all my life, there really are no new needs to satisfy, but you found one with Zollipops, and I want you to just share your story about how you came up with Zollipops.
So, when I was 7 years old, I went to the bank with my dad, and the bank teller offered me a lollipop. And my dad told me that I shouldn't have candy. I mean, what do you expect a parent to say? So I asked him, why can't we make a healthy sucker that's good for your teeth so that I could have candy and it wouldn't be bad for me? And then after about 2 years of research, plant trials, and talking to my dentist and dental hygienist, I finally came up with the ingredients and the flavors and the colors and the packaging, and we really created Zollipops.
You know, I understand the Zollipops are natural, they're gluten and GMO free. They contain xylitol, stevia, and erythritol. Is there anyone that helped you sort of design the recipe?
Yes, so we did talk to my dentist and my dental hygienist to really understand what products would be beneficial to cleaning your teeth, because who would know better than them? And so we found that xylitol and erythritol although they were strong taste cleaning ingredients on their own, we found that together they were even more powerful and they could really remineralize your teeth faster and more efficiently. So we found that we could put a very small amount of both into the lollipops, and we raise the pH in your mouth, they neutralize the acid, and they strengthen your tooth enamel, taking away the bacteria that causes cavities and tooth decay to grow.
Awesome. So tell us again about the name. Where did the name Zollipops come from?
So basically, my sister Lola came up with the name when she was 5 years old. She's currently 8 years old, so that was a pretty long time ago. But basically, we were all trying to come up with an idea for a name, and we were considering calling it the xylitol lollipop, just because xylitol was more kind of our main ingredient appealing to parents. So I asked her, I was like, Lola, do you want a xylitol lollipop? And she was like, you mean a Zollipops? And I thought it was absolutely perfect. It was short, it was sweet, it was really describing our product, considering we did have xylitol.
You know, there have always been sugarless candies on the market. Can you talk a little bit about what makes Zollipops so unique and desirable?
So, we're very different because not only do we clean your teeth, we're family friendly and we're kid friendly. Unlike many sugar-free candies, which are more meant for senior citizens and adults, and quite frankly, they don't always taste very good and they're not very appealing to children. So we found that if we created a sugar-free lollipop that kids would like, then their parents wouldn't have to feel guilty about giving them sugar candy, and it wouldn't be something that the kids didn't like. It would be something really good. And that's why we conducted several tests with my friends and on Halloween, where we would hand out a regular lollipop and then a Zollipops, and we would ask if you could tell the difference. It was, of course, an anonymous test, and we found that people just really liked Zollipops because they left your teeth feeling smooth and clean after, and they were slightly confused at first because the flavors were really similar, and they tasted the same, and the texture was the same, but it made your teeth feel smooth and clean after, and it made your mouth feel fresh, and it cleansed your palate. And it was just really surprising to see all the people that were saying that, well, I'd rather have these than a regular lollipop.
So I think I read somewhere that your favorite flavor is orange, but I'm curious to know, what's the favorite flavor in the line?
Well, I do really like the orange flavor, and I like all of them. They're basically all my favorite, but what I think is probably one of my favorites is the mint Zolli Drop, which we decided to bring in when parents were asking for the same recipe but just in a small drop, so that they wouldn't have a stick hanging out of their mouth. But when we did create Zolli Drops, we decided to make a mint flavor just geared more for adults and teenagers, just maybe after a cup of coffee to freshen their mouth. And I actually really like the mint Zolli Drops just because they're so refreshing and they're not overpowering or anything, and they're just really good, and they leave your teeth feeling smooth and clean, and they also leave you with fresh breath.
Alina, but the question was, which is the one right now that's the best-selling flavor?
Well, we sell in single packs as well as our assorted fruit flavors packs. And the assorted fruit flavors is actually our bestseller in a 25 count, but we do sell single flavors on Amazon, and our bestseller is probably between strawberry and orange on Amazon for individual flavors.
And could I just ask one more question? Because I've never heard of a clever market research that to hand out competing products on Halloween. Have you?
It was a really beneficial test for us because it really showed that even though there are the name brands that have been selling for a long time, we're still at the level where we're still at their level, and we can still have a great tasting product that reminds you of a name brand, but it really has some lifelong benefits.
No, I think it's really terrific, and I'm sure you know this because I think you are totally immersed in the candy category, but actually over 80% of the growth in the candy category growth is from outside the four big players. That's Mars, and Mondelez, and Google Bimbo, and Nestle. Instead, it's coming from small and mid-sized companies like yours. Why do you think the big companies haven't seen this opportunity?
Well, I think we are, first of all, quite new in the market, and we haven't, we are a very original product that you haven't seen. So lots of people tend to be apprehensive when buying something that they haven't bought before. But that's why we're doing lots of sampling programs, lots of sharing Zollipops with schools, with dentists, small businesses, and of course, it's been very rewarding to work with Special Olympics and their Special Smiles program. And we really have been trying to throw our product out there and showing it to kids and adults and seniors because it really does have beneficial properties for everyone. And even though we are newer on the market, I feel like we are growing extremely fast. We've done over 245% on Amazon this year, and that we're up 245%.
Wonderful.
And so yes, we are really making our way up there.
Where are you selling today, and what are your plans for expanding your distribution?
Well, we currently sell in all Whole Foods Market. We sell in most regions, and then we sell on Amazon.com, like I mentioned before. And then we're very excited because we have just gotten into Kroger stores with our everyday items, and we are so excited to have our product in the biggest grocery chain in America. And we will be coming out in more large stores soon. We've been going to lots of trade shows and meeting with lots of buyers from large stores, and we will be making our way into their set this coming year, and we're very excited.
We need to hear a word from our sponsor.
Dan Perkins here from Recalculating.biz with your featured book. I want to tell you about a recent interview I had with Bob Bethel, a turnaround specialist with lots of success in small business. Bob's new book is Strengthen Your Business, Fail-Proof Strategies for Small Business. He tells us of his life successes and failures that have made him and his clients so successful. Over the years, Bob has brought 77 companies back from the brink and changed them into thriving, profitable businesses. His energy is amazing, and at 74, he proves that you can still have a great deal to give others if you just try. His suggestions are easy to understand and very helpful. One insight struck me was that most companies do not have a plan. The old Chinese proverb says, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there, is true today. Bob Bethel's book, Strengthen Your Business, can be found at Amazon.com or can be ordered at your local bookstore. This has been Dan Perkins with your Recalculating.biz featured book.
You are listening to Ann Daw and Don Mazzella, and the program is Food and Wine Insider. If you have a question or know someone you think our listeners should hear, contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Remember, our programs are heard every Wednesday and Saturday on this station via amfm247.com or on iHeartRadio, as well as Roku Television. You can listen to past shows at foodandwineinsider.com.
That is phenomenal, and you should be excited because this is an amazing accomplishment. Who else is involved in the business with you?
Well, it's me, my dad, who works as my business consultant, mentor, and my mom works in marketing towards other moms because who would know better than her? And then my sister works in product development, coming up with new flavors and colors, and coming up with our new product, Zappy Taffy. So it's as much her product as it is, or as much her company as it is mine. And then we have a team at Zollipops. We have an accountant. We have a warehouse manager. We have sales, people that work in sales and marketing, merchandising, and advertising, things of that sort.
Are you making the product yourself, or do you have somebody else making the product for you?
We do have a manufacturer in the U.S.
Okay. And so who's doing the selling? It sounds like you're like this amazing person to everyone wants to meet, but who do you have going out there when you need to be making sure that you're getting your schoolwork done?
My dad does do the traveling when I am not available for traveling, but for the most part, I try and go to the trade shows and the business meetings internationally or nationally.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do. I go to school.
Tell me a little bit about your packaging and how you came up with that design, and what are you trying to communicate on that packaging? Because let's face it, that's a key piece of your advertising.
Well, I do think it is pretty key, our packaging, because we did market it mostly towards kids, because it happens to be that at the grocery store when parents go with their kids, something will always catch a kid's eye and they'll be like, Mom, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? So, and usually they'll read it over and say, well, no, this has too much sugar or this isn't good for you. But we do make our packaging quite colorful. So we do help market to kids and moms alike. We actually created the packaging by drawing it out. I drew it out originally. We worked with a graphic designer to make it, and we sent the final draft of the packaging to our manufacturer, and now we have our packaging.
I think it's fantastic that you have this big smile on the front, because that really sort of communicates a lot about what you're trying, what you are as a product. So I think it's really phenomenal. You also donate 10% of your profits to to fund an increase in oral health education in schools and contribute Zollipops to schools and dentists through your 250,000 Smiles initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that program is all about?
Yeah, so 250,000 Smiles is our it's our cause-based organization where teachers or principals or dentist offices can sign up on our website under 250,000 Smiles, and they can get free Zollipops for their schools, their classrooms, their offices, and it really is an important program because we are teaching kids about oral health. We're teaching kids about the importance of taking care of their teeth and the importance of their smiles, because smiles really do have amazing powers. You look at someone and the first thing you see is their smile, and it really is just really important.
I think you could teach marketing to a lot of people, because you have it at such an instinctual level to you. Tell me what you're thinking about next. What's next for you? What's next for Zolli?
So the next thing we want to do is really get it into more schools and get it into more dentist offices so that they can really be shared with kids and parents and families all over the world so that they can all have clean mouths and healthy smiles.
Awesome. And has Dad been on the phone with you?
What was that?
I said, is Dad on the phone with you?
Yes.
Excellent. And is there anything else he'd like to say about what your business and about you? I'd like to hear it from the dad's perspective.
Well, Alina's an amazing mind, amazing driven young woman, and it's great working together with her. I'm always amazed by the questions she asks and the ideas she has, and I think from a parent's standpoint, sometimes we all get busy and it's hard to pay attention to all the questions they ask, but anything I could suggest is just take the time to entertain those questions and work together, and you never know what can happen. In this case, our daughter's sold over millions of lollipops to help people. We're so excited to be in Kroger. Zollipops are now available, America's largest retailer. If anyone's looking for a retailer to find Zollipops, they're at they can check out Zollipops.com. That's Zollipops.com. And Alina posts a number of videos, healthy tips as well at Facebook.com/ZolliCandy, ZOLLICANDY. So please follow us and share those tips with parents and friends. Smiles are amazing. They show people's confidence. When you smile, it makes you feel good, and it makes somebody else feel good. So if we can help a few more people smile every day, and it can be a great world, and we can make a great impact.
I've been smiling through this whole interview, and I can tell that Alina also smiles because you can hear the joy in her voice. And when people are really passionate about what they do, it comes through in just how they say things. And so, Alina, it's been a real privilege for us to have the opportunity to interview you, to have people hear about your product line. I think you're an absolutely amazing young woman, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. How old are you today?
I'm 12 years old.
Oh, my God. Well, what are you going to do when you're 21? Run for president? Wait, I forgot. You have to be 35 for that. You'll have to wait a few years. A truly amazing story. Ann, do you have any other questions before? I have thousands, but
I would love to check in with Alina as she continues to progress. I think she has a fabulous parade. I think she has the right stuff. That she's come with a product that really is important. One of the things I always say to new parents is don't feed the kids sugar and salt. They don't usually listen. And you have an alternative, that really can be beneficial to teeth. And your smile does say everything about you. So I think it's just phenomenal, you're phenomenal. And I just wish you absolutely the best of luck continuing to get your product to be successful and in broader distribution. And I'm sure everyone's learning about it on social media. So, I couldn't be prouder of you. Even though I'm not your parent, I think we're all really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John, any last words?
That's about it for today. Thank you so much, Alina, for being with us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was so great to talk to you.
Have a good
Take care.
day.
You are listening to Ann Daw and Don Mazzella, and the program is Food and Wine Insider. If you have a question or know someone you think our listeners should hear, contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Remember, our programs are heard every Wednesday and Saturday on this station via amfm247.com or on iHeartRadio, as well as Roku Television. You can listen to past shows at foodandwineinsider.com.
Now it's time for Ann Daw to talk about what's happening in the food and wine world.
Hi, I thought I would talk today about brand purpose. As I grew up in consumer packaged goods, we didn't talk about purpose. We talked about our category of products, our competition, what deals we would run to load the consumer's pantry before our competition did, and what new line extensions we would introduce to bring consumers back to our category and more specifically our brand. We also thought that owning the shelf set at retail was critically important as it demonstrated the importance of our brand and products to the consumer, who basically has about 6 seconds to see our brand as they walk down the aisles. We were ever attentive of the data, whether it was warehouse withdrawals, market share, and growing the category, especially if it benefited our brand. But then increasing shareholder value took hold, and we stopped innovating. It was easier to take pricing and cut costs, what we would refer to as the salami effect. In other words, each reduction in cost was compared the product to its previous version, not to the original recipe. Supermarkets became more powerful as they then gathered their own consumer data and through their own reputations created brands to compete with the national brands. Initial private label products weren't as good as the brands, but were definitely cheaper in price, thus attracting consumers. As these private labels improved their products and brands reduced their costs, the differentiation decreased. Bless the entrepreneurial specialty food purveyors who saw that there should be better products for consumers and pushed the trends, whether it was non-GMO, gluten-free, organic, range-free, hormone-free. They not only affected what consumers eat, but get consumers to actually think about what is in their mac and cheese. In effect, the entrepreneurs changed the way consumers eat and think about how food relates to health. But equally, if not more important, these entrepreneurs and some enlightened corporations understood the importance of brand purpose, not just about what you do, but why you do it. There are companies producing products that reduce waste and see the food cycle as not linear, ultimately to landfills, but rather circular, feeding humans, feeding animals, and feeding the soil. The purpose of these companies is embedded in their DNA. Just think of Paul Newman's Own, or Ben & Jerry's, or Etsy, or Tom's. The purpose of a company drives the strategic direction, no matter what the cause, because the consumer can smell out a fake. So when I hear it said that brands are dead, I think it's that the brand may have become no longer relevant. We have to reconnect with our consumers and have them understand our brand purpose. And then once they understand why we exist, they will buy our brands. Thank you.
You've been listening to Food and Wine Insider with Ann Daw and Don Mazzella. Want to join us on a future show? Contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Until next time, have a passion for food, wine, and profits, and think of our program, Food and Wine Insider.